And today, this is something about the mass appraisal. Normally, we have classes on mass appraisals. We went to conduct some teaching in Uganda. We went to do some in other countries as well. Like next month, or actually this month at the end of June, I will be also teaching something similar to this in Cebu, that is an island in the Philippines. But I think this subject should be very interesting for third world countries or developing countries, and particularly they are in Asia and also Pacific. That's why we choose this time. This time is 3 o'clock in the afternoon of Bangkok, and should be as early as 10 o'clock in Paris. Also some Eastern Europe, maybe 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock, or in Near East, also maybe 12 o'clock or something. In India, Pakistan, that may be around 1 o'clock or something. And in Sydney, Melbourne, it should be around 6 o'clock in the evening, and also maybe around 5 o'clock in Japan. So that's why we try to accommodate for this time, and maybe not so convenient for those who come from the United States of America. But you may know that in the United States of America, they use mass appraisal for a long time already. I studied there from the Lincoln Institute of Technology of Land Policy, maybe 30 years ago. So there should be no worry. But there may be some countries like South America, they may need to know something about this as well. But sorry that they may be the minority. So if 3 o'clock now, it might be around 2 o'clock in the morning in Sao Paulo or something. Sorry for those who may come from that region or that continent. But for African countries, for Near East, for Middle East, for Asia, I think this 3 o'clock now should be more appropriate for them. That's why we are here. And right now, we have another around 27, almost 30 participants. It may not be many, but in the registration, we have around 100 registered. Maybe they register and then may wait for the YouTube or something so that I can send the materials to them later. I don't know, but maybe they can come afterwards. But now we have around less than 30. But don't worry, those who come, I'm very much admired your participation. And this means that you are interested in this mass appraisal. And if possible, we may be able to go to your country to talk about this as well. And right now, allow me to start this session. And this session, there are 2 speakers. The first one is me, myself, Sopon, and second one is Mr. Gino, my good friend from Australia. And we went, both of us, we went together to Uganda to teach. And he also come to Thailand as well. So we are good friends. But at the beginning, I would like to ask Mr. Gino to talk first. And this session will be around an hour. So maybe you can have some presentation for, say, 20 or 25 minutes or something, or no more than 30 minutes. Afterwards, that will be mine. And then there will be some Q&A session. So it will end within 1 hour or 1 hour, 10 minutes or 1 hour, 15 minutes or something. So this is what we plan today. So we will start with Mr. Gino now, but maybe let me just share some screen. ทำไงวะ? Let me just share to you. Yeah. ผมมันอยู่ไหนครับ? Okay, there's a screen now. Okay, so this is what we will speak about the mass appraisal for taxation purposes and also for land management, private land management. Even like in Japan, we also have this. And the first speaker is Mr. Gino Mitrione. Okay.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Mr. Gino Mitrione. He is also a lecturer at the University of Melbourne and also a practitioner who do mass appraisal in different cities in Australia. And or maybe he can introduce himself later. But before we start, Mr. Gino, maybe you are ready, but let me just introduce to you. This is FIABCI, International Federation of Real Estate, or International Real Estate Federation. But the abbreviation FIABCI is from in French, because this FIABCI was started in Paris. So they have the abbreviation in French. So it is FIABCI. So it is International Federation of Real Estate. So in English, it is so. And you may know that June 5 to 9, next week, we will have a World Congress in Miami, and I also be there. I will be also be there. So this Sunday, now is Thursday. So this coming Sunday, I will be leaving for Miami. And then in December, we also have another big event. That is the December Business Summit that will be in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. It should be a good place to see. I myself, even if I'm this old, I never been in Riyadh. I never been in Saudi Arabia. So this will be a great opportunity for me to be there in Saudi Arabia in December, not now. If we are now, it should be really hot, but in December, it should be really mild. So hope to see you all in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. But next week, June 5th to 9th, it will be 33rd FIABCI World Real Estate Congress. This this is the last one before I allow Mr. Gino to kindly speak to us. This is our World Council of Experts. I'm the president of the World Council of Experts. We also have one beautiful lady, Madame Eva from FIABCI Spain, España. And also we have Mr. Ivan Vilkov, who is the president of FIABCI Bulgaria, and Mr. Joshua Duncan as the vice president from FIABCI USA, and Mr. Ivan Bennett, secretary of our World Council of Experts. He is also from FIABCI USA. So this is the introduction to you. If you are our FIABCI members, you can become our council member. You can apply to be our council member in any council. If you are a developer, you can be council members in the council of developer or the council of brokers, council of valuers or experts, something. Okay, so now allow me to invite Mr. Gino Mitrione. His name is Gino Mitrione. Yeah. To speak. So the floor is yours, Mr. Gino Mitrione, please.
Thank you, my friend Sopan. Appreciate that, and welcome everybody. Now, can I get control of the screen?
ก็แชร์สกรีนให้เขาเลย
Can you all see that?
Yeah, I hear you.
Very good. Okay, so just a little bit of background. I'm a certified registered valuer in the country of Australia. Have been for over 40 years, member of the Australian Property Institute. And Sopon mentioned earlier that he's been exposed to mass appraisals for some jurisdictions that have been doing them for 30 years. I've been doing mass appraisals for government taxing purposes for over 20 years. So we've been using multiple regression analysis. So I thought I would give you an overview on how I have undertaken mass valuation techniques in Australia. So some of the things we'll be looking at this afternoon, mass valuation tools, data analysis. We'll take a look at regression analysis and also look at the use of lookup tables. There are very sophisticated software programs that undertake multiple regression analysis. But for today's purposes, I'll be just using Excel. Excel actually has a very good statistical package built in, a little bit simplistic, but for undertaking simple mass appraisals, it actually does not a bad job. There are many other software programs available across the world which do very sophisticated valuations, but we can't cover how to use those programs in 1 hour. So I thought I would keep it very simple and look at just some of the basics of mass valuations. Now, please, if you have any questions whilst I'm going through the presentation this afternoon, please don't hesitate to put your hand up, and Sopon will let me know that there's a question, and we can have a question at any time from the audience.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what is multiple regression or mass valuations all about? Well, a single property valuation. So most of the time, valuers across the world undertake what we call single property valuations, which is a valuation of a particular property as of a given date. A mass valuation, however, is a systematic appraisal of groups of property as of a given date using standardized procedures and statistical testing. So there is quite a substantial difference between doing a single property valuation where you're doing one valuation at a time and of one property, and you undertake a detailed inspection of that one property, measure it up, take notes, looking at the land size, looking at the building size, and then you go away, you have a look at some sales or rentals, and then you undertake a valuation. And that might take a number of days to do that one property valuation, whereas a mass appraisal is a totally different exercise. We're looking to do thousands and thousands of valuation in one exercise. In the jurisdiction that I work in, Whittlesea, we undertake 100,000 valuations, and that's a combination of commercial, industrial, mostly residential properties. And we do that every year as at the level of values of the 1st of January in each year. So that's a different undertaking than doing a single property valuation. So you need to make that distinction. There's also automated valuation models, which is a mass appraisal, are statistically based computer programs that use real estate information such as comparable sales, property characteristics, and price trends to provide a current estimate of market values for a specific property. An AVM report provides a written summary of the results. So when I mean automated valuation models, I'm talking about the realestate.com programs that you have on your websites, where you can do any Google search for a property, and there are many websites that undertake a valuation of that specific property. So that's what I call automated valuation models. You can actually get a valuation of any single property in the world by just asking Google the question, what's that property worth? And we'll touch on what that process, how that process evolves. The valuation and appraisal sector has reached an inflection point as a result of the application of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and other algorithms to structured and unstructured data sets of increasing size and complexity. An ever-evolving regulatory landscape and the market's demand for speed and innovation is driving change faster than ever before. In the world now, you can get real-time valuations of any property, and a lot of those realestate.com websites will give you a valuation. And what they're doing is looking at sales that have occurred of similar type properties, but that's the question: how similar are those properties? But these are programs that work on artificial intelligence, and we're seeing more and more sophisticated programs being created in this regime. And these are just some of the links of some of the properties, some of the websites in Australia, which I thought, I'm not sure if they're going to work, Sopon, but I might try one link and see how it works here. So there we have a property, and if I put in an address there, and we call that so here is a property here. Let's do another search. Let's see if this works. So there's a property here, and straight away it's giving us a guide as to how much that particular property is worth. And that happens in real time. So here's a property, and this will happen obviously in your area that you work in. You can get a real-time valuation of any particular property. So what drives this valuation? The data elements that are in this related to this particular property. This property has 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a 2-car garage, and has a land size of 505 square meters. So depending on that, because of that information, this program on this website has calculated a valuation of 850,000. So you can get access to this anytime and examine what a property is worth at any particular time. So what are some of the things we'll be looking at this afternoon is a graphical display of data and how we can use that from a valuation point of view, statistical summaries, correlation matrix. And if we have time, I might actually do an Excel example of how Excel gives us a mass valuation on a particular group of properties. So just in a very broad and basic sense, here we have a graphical display of analysed land sales in Australia. So we have the value per square metre and the size of the land, the size of the allotment. So what we can see here, a very simplistic graph, but what we can see here is a clear relationship between value per square metre and the size of the land. And what we can see here is, as what you'd expect, certainly in Australia and in most countries across the world, that the smaller or the greater the land size, the lower the unit value per square metre. So you can see a real trend here that starts up around $600 a square metre, moving down to about $300 a square metre as you get to a larger allotment size of 800 square metres, rather than something very small down this end of maybe 250 square metres. So the graph helps us to confirm trends with certain property attributes and the relationship between attributes and value. This is also an Excel output on a mass appraisal valuation. It gives us some very interesting data. There's a group of sales and there's 227 vacant land sales in this particular spreadsheet. And Excel tells us reasonably quickly that the median, or the mean rather, or average is $184,225. The standard error along with that is 2,345. The median is 175,800, and the mode is $194,950. So that's very useful information to have at your fingertips reasonably quickly. The other bits of information that is interesting is that the lowest sale price that occurred in this particular data set is $115,800, and the highest land sale is $290,000, and the range between them is 174. It's important to understand the sales batch that you're analysing so that you can apply those results to the properties that you're going to value in a mass appraisal exercise. This is a correlation matrix which measures the relationship between value or sale price, and in this particular case, two reasonably straightforward property attributes, which is site frontage, how many meters there are across the front of the property, and the land area of that particular allotment. So in this case, we can see, and the perfect measurement between two attributes is 1 or 100%. One explains the movement in the other. So sale price against sale price is 1, that's fine. Sale price and site frontage gives us a correlation of 0.449 or 45%. So that's not too bad. We're generally looking for something greater than 50%. And if we move down and look at the relationship between sale price and land area, we get a 0.62 reading, which is 62%. So that's much stronger. So if you're looking at this data, you would say that land area is a bigger influence on value than site frontage. So if we're building a model, we definitely include land area. This correlation matrix is also useful when putting models together. Make sure that we don't fall into the trap of multicollinearity, which is the relationship of variables that you're going to be using inside your model. So if we were thinking of putting a model together to determine value of land, we'd have to be careful to use both site frontage and land area, because if we look here at the relationship between site frontage and land area, so that's this figure here, 0.749, that means there's a strong connection internally between site frontage and land area, which is not unusual. So if we were going to be, well, in this case, we wouldn't use both frontage and land area in one model, because that's going to skew the results because of this strong relationship. Does that make sense to everybody? The multicollinearity. So we need to be careful of what we use inside our models. So just be careful of that issue. So let's having a closer look at regression analysis and what that is. Regression is used to study relationships between measurable variables. Linear regression is used for a special class of relationships, namely those that can be described by straight lines or by generalizations of straight lines to many dimensions. These techniques are applied in almost every field of study, including social sciences, physical, biological sciences, business and technology, and the humanities. In multiple regressions, several independent variables are used to model a single response variable. If the response variable is called Y and the independent variables are called X1, X2, etc., P is a number of independent variables or predictors. So that's a more clinical explanation of what regression analysis is all about. But in a nutshell, what it really means is it gives us, this is a very special tool that gives us the ability to undertake valuations of similar type properties. So we're talking about homogeneous properties, group of properties that are very similar, and we can create a model that will explain or determine the value of those properties at a given point in time. So very useful tool, and that's what we use to determine 100,000 valuations in one exercise in the jurisdiction that I work in. In multiple regression, an equation that expresses the response as a linear function of the P independent variables is estimated by using the observed data. The model is specified by a linear equation, and this is basically how the equation looks. Y being sale price or value, and that's the constant plus the variables that we're looking at under each property attribute, where the B's are unknown parameters and the E's are statistical errors. Y is the independent variable or the response. In this case, it is value, so that's what we're trying to predict. And X1, X2 are the predictors. So what influences sale price or value, for example, land frontage or land area. And if there are any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. This is also a summary output that Excel gives us when we ask for a multiple regression equation. So in this case, we've got 164 sales of vacant sites in a particular area. And these are some of the outputs that Excel gives us. So if we start with the most important one here is the adjusted R squared. And what that measures is how accurate the model is in determining value. And so in the same way that the correlation matrix gave us a reading on the relationship between a variable and sale price, this adjusted R squared gives us how accurate our model is in predicting value. And again, we're looking at a figure the closest that you can get to 1, because it's 100%. And in this case, the answer that Excel gives us is our model, in this case, has an adjusted R squared of 0.779. So that means that this model explains 78% of the time movements in property value. So that's actually pretty good. Anything above 70% is actually very good. And so 78% is, getting on the way to 80%. So that's very accurate. And that's for 164 observations. Excel also gives us the actual model that we're going to be using to predict the value. So in this case, the model is value equals, and we're starting off with $28,096. So that's a starting point, plus $186 per square metre of land area, and plus $900 a square metre for the building area. $4 per every year that the building was built, and a negative element here, negative $1,833 for every room that's in the house, and a negative value again, $8,606 per every bedroom that's in the house, and another negative coefficient or value of minus $4,608 for every floor. So when there are multiple floors. So this is the model that Excel has given us in this particular case. And if we have a look at that in more mathematical terms, the equation for this regression analysis is value equals $28,097 plus $186 multiplied by the land area of that particular property, $901 per square metre of building area for that particular property. As I said, $4.28 per every year built. Negative element here of $1,834 per every total number of rooms. A negative element of, again, $8,667 for every number of bedrooms, and $4,609 for every floor. So that is an equation that has given us a value on every single property. And this particular example, this model was used to predict the value of about 5,000 properties in this market group. And we had a pretty strong accuracy level. As I said, the adjusted R squared was 0.78, which is 0.78, yes, 78%. And so we believe this model is actually very accurate in predicting value of this particular submarket group. I was going to touch quickly on lookup tables, but lookup tables are pretty unsophisticated these days, but Excel does give us the ability to come up with a table of values that we can apply on a per square metre area basis, and how those values sit. So we can actually use this as a mass appraisal, very, very basic, but it does give us some assistance in predicting market values. And also we can make it a bit more sophisticated and work out a value per square metre of what the building adds to the land values. And there's just a quick, I won't spend too much time on it because we've got a limited time this afternoon, but there's a lookup table that you can use pretty quickly, and Excel does this for you and can sort out an estimated value of thousands and thousands of properties in the matter of seconds. And so I just wanted to give you a look at the databases that we use at Whittlesea in particular. And for these models to work when we're predicting values, we have over 50 property attributes that we record on every single property in our jurisdiction. So as I said earlier, we've got 100,000 properties thereabouts. It's probably just a bit over 100,000. And on every single property, we have over 50 property characteristics, property records, elements recorded on every single property. And this is the sort of record that are kept on every single property. It tells us the construction type, the frontage of the land, the area of the land, descriptions on the type of buildings, the area, when it was constructed, the quality of style, the type of roof, the number of rooms, the number of bedrooms, the number of floors, the sale price information. So that's all the information that's recorded on every single property in our jurisdiction. So we've got pretty sophisticated information that's recorded there. And it's important that the only way a model evaluation mass appraisal model can be accurate is if you have good quality data on every single property. If you don't have that, it's very difficult to establish a quality valuation tool. Not sure if you've used Excel in particular, but as I said earlier, Excel does have a statistics package as part of it. And you have to open that up. It's not automatic. So if you Google that, it'll give you instructions. But if you want to just have a quick note, if you go into options and if you go into add-ins, and then if you go to manage Excel add-ins, click on the analysis toolpack rather, VBA, click the box. And if you said go, and then that'll open up the analysis toolpack that's built in Excel. And then you can then go to analysis tools. And I'll show you that in a minute, how you can get to the suite of functions that allows you to undertake a mass regression analysis using a simple program like Excel. I also just wanted to talk to you about the mass appraisal process that we undertake in Australia, and it's made up of basically 10 steps. And these 10 steps are done over a 12-month period in the jurisdiction that I work in. So we're talking about performance analysis, revaluation decisions, analysis of available and required resources, planning and organisation, system acquisition or development, pilot studies undertaken, data collection, the valuation itself, value defence. Our values are always open to scrutiny, and then a final ratio study. So let's have a quick look at how we undertake evaluation. We need to map out a process first. We need to also determine the program that was used previously. Do we have to modify that? The analysis, we also need to make sure that we've analysed all the sales that have occurred. And we need to determine early on in the process what the resources are required to undertake evaluation. So to give you an idea, in my jurisdiction where we're doing evaluation of 100,000 properties, there's probably 3 full-time valuers and statisticians that are used to undertake this process over a 12-month period. So they're the resources, and that includes doing analysis of the sales that have occurred, ensuring that the property characteristics are recorded accurately, and also running pilot studies, also looking at when we need to collect additional data. For example, we might decide that there's a data element that hasn't been collected that needs to be collected to ensure that accurate valuations are completed in a particular year. So we'll then allocate staff to go out and do data collection. The final process is then evaluation. Those valuations are set out to all the property owners. We then have a level of objections that we obtain for those property owners that aren't satisfied that the valuation for rating and taxing purposes in Australia is accurate. And then we're able to use that feedback to then modify the valuation model to ensure that they are even more accurate than when we started. So they're the basic steps in a mass valuation process in Australia. Some of the measurements that we use to ensure that our values are accurate, I mentioned the adjusted R-squared. That's the starting point, but that doesn't give us a complete picture of how accurate our mass appraisal valuations are. So these are some of the measures that we use. These are very basic statistical measures. The common measures of central tendencies, for example, we look at the median, we look at the mean, we look at the mode, and we look at the weighted mean. So there, for a starting point, gives us an idea of how well our models fit the program of assessing market value. We also then look at common measures of dispersion, minimum, maximum, and ranges, lowest value, highest value, and differences. We also look at quartiles, values that include 1/4, 1/2, or 1 or 3/4 and 100%. Second quartile is the median, obviously. Percentiles, values that include given percentages of the data. That's a way of measuring. Standard deviation, most common measure of spread or dispersion. And obviously, the smaller the standard deviation, the better it is. Interpretation depends on the data being normally distributed. We also look at a measurement called the coefficient of variation, which is dividing the standard deviation by the mean and multiply by 100, expresses the standard deviation as a percentage of the mean. So these are all measures that we use to see how accurate our model is. Examination of the data, scatter diagrams, what I spoke about earlier, simple graphs, polygon plots, line charts, box plots, frequency distributions, and histograms. They're all visual tools that we can use to see how accurate our models are in relation to actual values of particular type properties. We've also got central measures of tendency, median, mean, and weighted mean, measures of dispersions, minimum, maximum, and ranges, lowest values, highest values, and differences, useful for identifying extremes or outliers. Coefficient of dispersions, the COD, that's the most common measure of valuation uniformity. That's always a good measure. Coefficient of variations, the COV, which is dividing the standard deviation by the ratios by the mean ratio multiplied by 100. That's a useful tool to determine accuracy. And another tool is a price-related differential, or the PRD, a rough measure of equity in the valuation of low value and high value properties. So those properties at either end of the spectrum. And we divide the median ratio by the weighted mean ratio. I know I'm traveling very quickly in describing these measures, but because we have limited time, Sopon and I just wanted to give you an idea of what we can cover in a mass valuation course or class. So if we look at those measures, where should our model fall in line with? And the performance standards, according to the International Association of Assessing Officers, the IAAO, which both Sopon and I are members of, the level of valuation is measured by the median ratio between 0.9 and 1.1. That's ideally where we'd want to be. The uniformity of valuation is measured by the COD, coefficient there is a single, if we're looking to single residential and apartments for newer or homogeneous markets areas, between 5 and 10 is the accepted range. For older or heterogeneous market areas, between a little bit more comfort room, 5 to 15. Other residential properties, we're talking again 5 to 15 is acceptable. Income producing properties, larger urban market areas, we're allowed to be in between 5 and 15. And smaller market areas, so smaller areas, we can also then be between 5 and 20. So these are the standards by the International Association of Assessing Officers. For vacant land, which is non-agricultural, large to medium-sized market, again, between 5 and 25 we're allowed to be in, and rural or small-sized markets between 5 and 30. So uniformity of valuations is measured by the PRD within a strata of 0.98 to 1.03. So the PRD is very tight. We need to make sure that our results, and again, if we're looking at getting the closest as you can to 1, the flexibility there that the IAAO allows is between 0.9 and 1.03, so very tight. Just some references if you're interested in doing some additional reading, the ACTS and the Fundamentals of Mass Appraisal, which is a document issued by the IAAO, gives us some basic information of how to undertake a mass appraisal, but there's a lot of literature out there in relation to mass appraisals. So what I thought I might do now is just a quick analysis using Excel, just so you can have a quick look at what Excel can do. And what we have here is a simple spreadsheet. You might be able to see the detail of it because I know it's quite small. Try and just expand that for you. But these are just vacant land sales in the jurisdiction that I work in. We've got an assessment number, so that's just a 7-digit number that measures that allocated to that particular property. That's the address, and we have a sale date, a sale price, and the land area. And what I've done here, I've just put a numeric number next to the date, the month that it sold, starting with the sale date of April 2022. This is a reasonably old sales batch. So what we're going to do is do a regression analysis on these 3 columns here. So what we might start off with is just showing you how to do a correlation matrix. So we go to data here, just move that out of the way. Now, when you enact the regression statistics package at Excel, what it does, it opens up this data analysis function. So you might not have seen that before if you haven't released this part. So when you go to options and release the stats package, all of a sudden you'll have this function bar that will appear. So what we want to do is click into the data analysis function bar, and we will get some options of what we can undertake. So these are some of the statistical functions that Excel has. So it might be worthwhile you having a look at those and what they actually mean. The one we're going to choose just for tonight or this afternoon is correlation. We're going to do a correlation matrix. So let's tick that off, and it'll ask us, well, what do you want to measure? And we're going to say we want to measure everything in these last 3 columns, and there's 111 of them. And we do have labels in the first row, and we want to have a new worksheet for the output. So what that's going to measure is sale price against the month the sale had occurred and land area. And let's see what we come up with. So if we press OK, that does that calculation in that amount of time. So that's actually, from my point of view, that's pretty impressive. So what's that saying? It's measuring those 111 sales, and it is saying which one is the most effective, which variable is the most effective or most influential on sale price. So that's the last sale amount, that's the sale price. And when you compare that to sale price, it's 1, obviously. So if we look at sale price in the month that the actual sale occurred, and remembering that we're giving a number between 1 and 25, so we're moving backwards, we have a negative correlation here. So the older the sale, the lower the sale price or value. So that makes sense that that's a negative figure. And if we look at sale price and land area, we have a correlation of 0.669. So these two variables could actually be used in this particular circumstance to arrive at a model. So what we might do is go back to our sales and undertake a regression equation now, and we'll see how quickly Excel can do that. So we go to data analysis, and what we do is, what we might do first, I suppose, we might use one of these others and do a descriptive statistics on the sale price, so we understand what sale price is. So that's going to give us just a summary of the sale price of vacant land in this particular area. So that's okay. That again, it asks us, what do you want to measure? And we want to measure sale price. There are labels in the first row. We want summary statistics. We also want a new worksheet with the results, and then we okay that. And this is the output, just so you understand what this is. And so we just look at what that actually means. So the median is of all those sale prices is $358,656. So that's okay. We might just.
So maybe you can enlarge.
Is that a bit small? Is it? Thanks, Sopon.
Thank you, sir.
How's that?
Better and better.
You should. Someone should have mentioned that earlier. I didn't
Sorry.
realize. No, very good. Thank you for telling me that. And so in this case, the median is 330,000. That's important to know. And the mode is 295,000. So this just gives us a quick snapshot of the sale prices that are occurring. But the important two, I think, are the median. So the lowest sale price for vacant land in this area is 252,000, and the maximum was 772. So that's a range of sale prices that have occurred for vacant land. So it's actually quite wide. So we need to be mindful of that when we do our regression analysis. So if we go back to our list of sales, now let's do a regression. So this is going to be prediction of value. And so again, we go to data analysis, and our drop-down box comes up again. And this time we want to go down to regression, and we okay that. It's asking us, what do you want to predict? And we want to predict a value. So I'm going to highlight that column there. And what do you want to measure it against? Let's try that again. Let's lock in. And now what do you want to measure it against? And we're going to measure it against the month that the sale occurred and the land area. And we're going to look at having some residuals and normal probability plots, and we're going to have a brand new worksheet. And so if we now, this is doing a regression on 111 sales. Look how quickly it does that. And it's telling us there are some non-numeric data. All right. I'm not sure where that is. So what we might do, to just clean this up again. I should have looked at this beforehand. So if we try a number, no, we don't want any sales. Let's see if that does it. because sometimes it doesn't like the dollar signs. Excel doesn't like the dollar signs in there. It doesn't read it as numeric. We'll try it again. Regression. No, still doesn't like it.
If we just sort the data, probably we'll be able to
You
figure
reckon
out.
that's a good way to sort it out? Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Let me just try this.
This is the estimate.
Yes, but it doesn't like the data. So what we might do is just but I think you might be right. Sorting the data might work. Yeah. Sometimes there is some corrupt data in there too, which you've got to be careful of. So the sale price seems okay. Month seems okay. Land area might be.
How many rows of data do you have, sir?
Just 111.
Oh.
But I can't see the problem really.
No worry. If anyone want to learn something more, we can discuss this in further details. Because
Let me just have one more go, Sopon.
Yes, please.
Let's see if it works. Maybe because I didn't have the labels. There we go. Okay, so there's a stream of information that it gives us, but more importantly, and I'll try and expand it so you can read it a little bit better. So the important one to examine here is our adjusted R squared. That's nothing impressive. It's only 0.57, so it needs a little bit of work, but still it's okay for a start. The model itself is, and need to read these as sale prices. So we have a starting point of $272,505 less $8,752 for every month where it's occurred, the sale occurred, and $451 per square metre. So that model we can now apply to each of these sales to accurately work out the value at a given date. And that took, apart from me mucking around with the data, that took 10 seconds where it arrived at that model for us. And this is a very basic program. This is Excel, but it gives us a reasonable reading on how to value on a mass appraisal basis. So that's just a quick snapshot of what Excel can do and what regression analysis and how that can work as a successful mass valuation tool. Any questions?
There is a question about the energy efficiency building. like a smart building that energy efficiency, that is save energy. Is this some effect to the property prices?
Yes, we've done analysis on green buildings in Australia, and there's certainly that is a value influencer. So the higher the rating, the higher the value of a particular building or property. So you can actually, anything you put into a regression equation has to be numeric. So the question is, how do you best capture data on green buildings? So we use the rating. In Australia, we have a rating system between 1 to 5. So we can actually use that numeric data and put that into our equations and come up with a model that takes into account that green type of building and the efficiency of that building.
I see. Thank you very much. So maybe you can take some rest, and then I just take another part, and then we'll go to Q&A. Okay?
Yes,
okay.
Very good.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Pleasure.
Yeah.
So you can take back control.
Yes. น้องเอ็มช่วยแชร์สกรีนหน่อย
What I'll do is
Okay. So can you see my PowerPoint here?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Now you can take, there it is. Yep, now I can see it.
Stop share. ไหนแชร์สกรีนอยู่ไหนแม่ชี้อยู่ไหน
แล้วก็แชร์แล้วก็เลือกแนบนี้ครับใช่แล้วก็ใหญ่
Okay. So this session you can see that it is something technical, but in our FIABCI community we also have something about technical, something like architect valuers, something about art of selling like brokers, something about some experience like property managers, but today is something about some analysis. So as I inform you, มันไม่เดินนะน้องเอ็มทำไมไม่เดินนะOkay, thereละ. So a moment ago I recommend tell you about this FIABCI expert already. This is myself, Sopon Ponchokchai. Okay. Normally when we adjust the properties, the characteristic of properties, that is the characteristic in situ characteristics. But when we analyze, there are also something about the market condition that we have to adjust as well. Like when we do mass appraisal, we know that the price per house is maybe $1 million. But in the booming period, the price may go up to say 1.5 million. Or in the bust period, the price may down to around 700,000 US dollar per units. But the corner lot, or maybe the size of the house, or maybe other factors, maybe just the small, what we can say, the small factors. So the thing that we have to adjust further, that is some market conditions, so that we have to put insert in as well, because in different years there may be different when we calculate tax or something for our taxpayer. But in some years there may be difficulties, so maybe we have to reduce some tax or reduce the value of the property somehow. So something like this, on the left is very active, on the right maybe nothing active, because this is the area where they shop before they go home or something. So on the right maybe no activity or fewer activities, or maybe something about the location. Because of the location, maybe it is not so convenient. That's why the value may be different from the rest. The rest in this community may be selling for 1 million, but that one that have triangle plots there, they may be the value may be lower, and that we can calculate. I will give you the file later. And we also have to see the situation, what are happening in different countries, what will be the growing. Like in the US today, maybe the situation may not be so good. House price may not going up well. More last year, they grow up for only 4.3% per annum only. But during COVID-19, maybe 16% per annum. So this is the major consideration. Or maybe we can see something about the risk of the country, like here in the case of Thailand, the risk premium may be 4.892%, but from some country may be very high. Some country may be lower, say in the US or Canada, maybe lower, or Australia. That may be something you have to keep in mind. Or maybe the cycle. In the case of how that happen and come back every year, like a tsunami, it may come back every 100 years or something. So this is something that reiterated and that may be recycled or something. So that can happen in every year, every period of time. So if we value in the boom period, that may be one thing. In the bust period, that may be another thing. So that is something that we have to keep in mind as well. And we also have the relative truth and the absolute truth that may be somewhat different. And you can see that there are some cycle in this situation. And this is the performance of property returns in the United Kingdom for 100 years. You can see that it may be fluctuated from time to time. And also life cycle, you may know this is Trump Towers. So they have to destroy it because of the fiscal, the economic life cycle may be no more or something. So this is what happened. And you see there are many destruction like this in the US or maybe in many other countries as well. And you see this building become new building, and the building life may be around, economic life may be around 50 years, but the physical life may be over 100 years. So maybe after 50 years, there may be no value. Or if we value some restaurant, you may know that in Thailand, you may observe in your country as well. In Thailand, big restaurant, the life cycle may be only 12 years. After 12 years, maybe they have to close down or something, because the life expectancy of a restaurant is around 12 years. And also we have actual age and effective age that we have to keep this in mind. And also we have some seasonal effect as well. If we value at the beginning of the year or in the bust period may be different. So this is the seasonal effect. Normally the in the beginning of the year, maybe for the first quarter and the fourth quarter should be better than the second and the third quarter, as we can observe. Maybe it may be different in other countries of seasonal. And we also have to say something about the moving average, that we have to keep this in mind. Like this is the case that we can see really clearly, that is the daily new cases of COVID-19 in Thailand. This can also happen in your country, but you can see that if we see the moving average, we can see something that more understandable, that there are some growing period that something is down. Right now in Thailand, it is growing up again, but not yet so significant. Like me, I myself also got COVID-19, but got from Paris last year. But now Thailand is also growing in the number of COVID-19 again. So this is the 7 days moving average. So we can simplify and also can see the pattern of the changes. So this is something we have to keep this in mind as well. And the investment, that also something that we have to keep in mind, that for long-term investment, that may be very good investment. Say if we invest in something like this, it may worth quite a few million US dollar, quite a few million US dollar, but the price may be down because of the depreciation. But in real estate, maybe there are appreciation instead of depreciation. So this is something we have to keep in mind. But there may be something too many that I have to may not be able to tell you in further details. And the risk premium, as we can see that there are some risk premium that we can measure, like in when we calculate for the valuation, the risk premium, like the average income, the standard deviation divided by the average income, or the COV. This is something we consider the risk premium as well. So when we estimate this, maybe we don't give you the one figures, then we give you a range of figures as well. And the life estimate, there may be something different. If we value, this is the rubber plantation, the value by year. Sorry, there may be some Thai words, but this is the value by year. You can see the depreciation. If we value the plantation, the rubber plantation, say 10 years, 20 years, there may be quite different because of the amount of production may be going down over time. So the age, the life expectancy of rubber may be around 25 years or 27 years, whereas property land price may be going up, but the harvest or the production may be going down. This is the lychee. You may know lychee, also some sort of really beautiful fruit, originally from China. So this is also going down in long run, because we cannot, we have to accept the depreciation over time of the production. But the lychee trees and the rubber trees may be very much different, because the rubber trees after 30 years, maybe the trunk of the trees can be sold for furniture, for doing furniture. But the trunk of the lychee tree, maybe we have to chop down, no value. So this is somewhat different as well. This we still have some salvage value somehow. And this one, there will be no more value. Okay. And we can also see the depreciation in price. This is the pattern how we calculate the depreciation in price, like Mr. Gino said, that the relationship between variables may be not a straight line variable. Sometimes it may be like a curve line variable. And this already taken by Mr. Gino about the correlation metrics. We calculate this, so we won't tell you in further details. And this multiple regression also something that we already covered by my colleagues, Mr. Gino already. But maybe we can do this later on in the future, because we can foresee the future by this analysis. But sometimes maybe we can say that because of artificial intelligence, maybe they are better than our statistics. I don't know, it may happen. Like when I go to one place, normally I go to this direction by the tollway, but the Google Map told me that don't go to the tollway, it will waste more time. I should go to the ordinary way, but I don't believe, because tollway should be better. But when I got onto the tollway, I stuck on the tollway because of the accident and traffic jam. So sometimes the AI may be better than my experience. So that can also happen. Also, so next, this is some nonlinear relationship. We can see that for the case of interest, it is going up. In the case of depreciation, maybe going down in curve. In the case of depth factor, maybe going down like this. So there may be a different pattern of the relationship. Like this is the depth factor. In this depth factors, you can see that if we go further down, the price may be going down, but not a straight line. Say you can see that this is the land price on the main road, and after the main road, the relationship, this exponential function may be not a straight line. It is when we get out of the main road, the price will drop suddenly and then will drop steadily, not steadily, it will drop slowly, but not like in a straight line. And this is some calculation when we see the exponential function between the land price and the distance to the main road. And also, this is some calculation when we see the completion. How can we see the completion of the sales when we will be the 100% or something? So we can forecast, because at the beginning there may be a very high sale rate, but in the later on, because of no promotion, no campaign, there may be the sales per month may be lower. So this is some sort of calculation. This is the depth factors that we can also calculate. I just show you briefly. I will just show you briefly about the this screen. ไหนนะผมจะโชว์อันนั้นนะ
แล้วก็ดร.โปรแกรม
โอเคอันนี้นะ
อันนี้โปรแกรมของโปรแกรมนะครับ
แค่นี้นะโอเคso this is some thing that I just use it for this calculation by Visual Basic. When we put in the width of the road, maybe around width of the frontage, and also the depth may be around another 60 meters, and on the corner lot or not, and also what is the shape, and then we can calculate. So this is the number of the value. But if it is a corner one, the value may be a lot higher. But if the shape is not good, maybe the value may be further down. So this is something that we can calculate. And อีกอันทำไงน้องอีกอันทำไงมาดูซิ and there is another one. อีกอันนึงทำไงสต็อปก่อนใช่ไหม
ไม่ต้องสต็อปค่ะแล้วก็แชร์ปกติเลยครับ
เนี่ย
ในโปรแกรมนี้ค่ะที่เราแชร์เมื่อกี้ค่ะ
อันนี้
อันใหม่ใช่ไหมครับ
Okay, so this is another one about the land value estimate in different cities in Thailand. This is part of Thailand, so there will be something similar. That is, if we are in an area, say in this particular area, what will happen in the future? Here you can see if we are in different cities, this is in this city or in another cities or in another city with different say in this particular city, and we said that if we have the condition of the land title, what sort of land title, and what is the land area, say 10 right of land, and the value will be around 1.6 million baht or 163,000 baht per right. Right is something like half an acre or something. Then we can also go to other cities as well, and this with different conditions. Some may be with the fruit orchard, some may be just bare land, or some may be with a big pond, natural pond, so they have water supplies, so they should be better than those no water. So this is the case. Or maybe we can also go to the case of housing, say detached house, townhouse, or shop house, or condominium. Say if we have a condominium around 50 square meters and with swimming pool or not, sauna or any garden, or the maintenance is better or well on the main road or not, or near the shopping area or not, and the condition of the building is fair or good, and which floor are we? We are this building has 10 floors. We are on floor number 8. So the value will be this much. If we are on floor number 3, the value should be down. But if we have only 5 stories, if we are on the 5th floor, the value will be 819. But if we are on floor number 2, the value will be higher because in Thailand, by law, we said that very funny in Thailand, if the apartments no more than 5 stories, we have no need to equip with elevators. So the one who are on the 5th floor, they have to walk up. They call walk-up apartments. So those who are on the top floor may be sweating or tired. So the price of the unit will be lower, but maybe good for those who just married. But for the building that have 8 floors, they have 6 floors, more than 5 floors, they need to equip with an elevators. So those who are on the top floor should be higher value because better view. Okay. Yeah, so that's why this is in accordance with law or local laws and regulations. In Thailand, the first 5 floors, no need to equip with an elevators. But you may be amazed to learn that in Myanmar, our neighboring countries, they said that if the apartments less than 8 floors, say 7 floors, no need to have an elevator. They have to walk 7 floors higher. So this is why that Myanmar people are really strong. They walk up 7 floors. So this is the local law in Thailand, but may not happen in your countries. So this is something that I just try to share to you. อันนี้ดูได้ป่ะเนี่ยกลับมาที่PowerPoint ยังไหนแชร์สกินอยู่ไหน
แชร์สกินตัวนี้ค่ะนิวแชร์ค่ะดร.ครับแล้วก็เลือกตัวนี้
โอเค thank you sorry my daughter is teaching me โอเค
อีกรอบนึงค่ะดร.อีกรอบนึงไปที่
ไม่เอาบอกที่
นี่ครับนิวแชร์อีกรอบนึงแล้วก็มากดตรงที่หน้าสไลด์หน้าใหญ่ใช่ค่ะอันนี้แหละใช่ค่ะ
แล้วก็แชร์
ใช่ครับแชร์
sorry so last is that this is what we tell you about this calculation so thank you very much so this is something that I like to tell you that in developing countries when we have to have mass appraisal for taxation purposes and also for the banks for the bank we call desktop valuation desktop valuation. So if anyone want to borrow money when they come to us, we put in all the information like this, and then we can calculate at the beginning how much should it be. And if they said they want to borrow higher than what we said, maybe we have to go out to the field to do valuation. But if it is in our range, maybe we have no need to go out for valuation. Okay, so this will economize our time. So this is desktop valuation for financial institutions. This is also used by for the use of this mass appraisal or computer assisted mass appraisal or KAMA, or maybe we can just call mass appraisal, or maybe we just call AVM, automated valuation model. Okay. And in the case of land management, as I said, land management, we said that when we do land readjustment for rural land or urban land, You may know that in urban area, there may be some small roads that we need to do some land sharing scheme or land readjustment scheme. In this case, we have to value the properties or land at the beginning. What happened? And if we build new roads into that area, the land size may be smaller, but the value will be a lot higher. So in this case, this is the use for land readjustment for land urban land management or even rural land management. And there are also some blind land. This may be cannot imagine in Canada or in Australia there is no blind land, but in Thailand there are so many pieces of blind land, so we need to readjust the land somehow. So this is for land management. So this is what we want to inform you about this. So now it is time for Q&A. Is there any question or something? Okay, Miss Eva said, yeah, okay. Any comments or something? It seems that there is no comment. We have Mr. Ivan Velkov and also our board member of the council member here, and Miss Eva. Miss Eva, you are our council member. Any contribution from you, Miss Eva? Do you like to contribute anything? You can comment something, Madam.
Hi, thank you. Good morning to all, or good afternoon, or whatever. It is very important to know the standards in any country we are needing an appraisal. And it seems like generally it works the same way in every land and every country, but clearly not. For example, the elevator question you said as an anecdote, but sometimes you have to know exactly what is happening in this area, in this plot, more in the case of massive appraisal. So many thanks for your speeches today.
Thank you, Madam. Yeah. Mr. Ivan Vilkov, you are also here, our another council members. Do you have any contribution? Any contribution from you, Mr. Ivan Vilkov?
No, I just want to express my gratitude to your efforts to organize yet another very useful webinar for all the professionals around the globe, and especially to the speakers who already left. But anyway, thank you very much and keep up the good work, Dr. Sopon. It was very useful to see some of the details about the work of our colleagues. So,
yeah, thank you, sir. Yeah. Okay, so maybe we have to come to an end. Mr. Gino, do you have some last words or some last comment or something for our colleagues here? Mr. Gino maybe already left. Okay, so thank you everybody who joined us. Hopefully it would be a good session for you, and maybe we can do something together in the future. We can use our profession to develop our country and our real estate profession scientifically and constructively in the future. And hopefully you all can join our FIABCI in the future. All the best to you. So thank you very much and bye bye everyone. See you. Good afternoon, good day to everyone. Bye bye. สวัสดีครับ